Hey, welcome in! This is getting you set up to learn SQL, or the Structured Query Language. We'll be going over downloading SQL Server onto your computer. We will get you set up with Management Studio and create our first database. In case you're not able to stay for the entire video, here's the short version. Number 1, go to Google and search for SQL Server Express and click the Download Now button. Choose the basic installation and leave all other options as the default. At the end, there is a button for Install SSMS or SQL Server Management Studio. You can click that button, or feel free to continue on with the instructions on the next slide. Go back to Google and search for Management Studio, and be sure to click on the most recent version of Management Studio that's available, so that is compatible with the most recent version of SQL Server. When signing into Management Studio for the first time, the server name will have Browse for More. If you sign into Management Studio before in a server, it'll leave the last server name there as the default. But for signing in for the first time, click on Browse for More, and in the pop-up window, expand Database Engine, and there you will see SQL Express. Select that option, hit OK. For the authentication method, it will be defaulted to Windows Authentication. You can leave that as is and hit OK to sign in. To create our database, right-click on Databases on the far left side of Management Studio, give it a name, and hit OK. And with that, let's hop into our browser. Now that we are in our browser, we are going to start searching for SQL Server. So first off, let's go to Google and type SQL Server Express. We're going to follow the link from Microsoft.com. And if you've ever worked with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, this is a well-known brand that we are familiar with. We will scroll down to these free versions and we'll use the free Express. Click Download Now. You can see it's downloaded, so I'm going to open up the file. I'll minimize that for now. We will follow the basic installation type. Click Accept on the terms. I'll leave the install location as the default. Click Install. And there we go. Our installation of our SQL Server is complete. Feel free to take note on these locations. But if you ever forget where the data is being stored on your computer, there is a query that you can execute in Management Studio that'll bring up that information too. So now we need to install Management Studio. You can click on the Install SSMS button down here, or you can go back to Google and search for it there. I'm just going to close this out. Go back to our browser. Okay, now that we're back in Google, let's search for Management Studio. So SQL Management Studio. And we want to make sure that we're following the link provided from Microsoft. And scroll down to the Download SSMS section. Even though there is this part that's all in bold and blue and says, free download for version 18.12.1, at least as of the recording of this video, I am going to go ahead and click version 19 instead. And the reason is, when I was doing some testing before this video, I ran into an issue with the Edit Top 200 option trying to edit a table. and it brought up a blank white screen. There was no other error, and after some searching I saw the most recent version of SQL Server Express did not play nicely with Management Studio 18.12.1. So if there is a more recent version, go ahead and download that. The link brought me to a new page that looks very similar, but you can see it got renamed to version 19. Scroll down to the download version, or download section, and now I'll click this link. And give that a moment. Okay. I'll leave the location set as default provided, so I'll just click install. Our setup is complete. Awesome, awesome. Let's go ahead and open it up. And here we go. In your computer, you can search for Management Studio and bring it that way. And then you can pin it to your toolbar to make it easier to access later. For your server name, if you haven't done this before, it'll say, browse for more right here. Likewise, if I click on the drop down, I see browse for more here. I'm going to click on it. In the pop-up window, you'll see Database Engine. Click the plus sign, and there's your SQL Server Express. So click your SQL Server Express, and click OK. For the authentication method, it is defaulted to Windows authentication. Leave that alone for now. You can create other user accounts within your server and assign passwords to them. But when you first get set up, it all defaults to Windows, so you can leave that alone. There you go. So you have your own SQL server. Now we need a database to work in. So over on the far left side under Object Explorer, we're going to right click on Databases, click on New Database, and let's give it a name. So test database. Click OK. Expand it out, and here's our database. And from here, whenever you create new tables or views, they'll be under the subfolders. But now you have a workspace to start practicing in. So for a little bit more context, again, Management Studio is not the server itself. It's not where any data is stored. Management Studio is like the workbench for a carpenter or an easel for an artist. Management Studio is just the location where you work. The data that you're working with is inside your server. And now you are all set up. So real quick, if whenever it's the end of the day and you're ready to sign out, you can click on your server name and click on disconnect up here, and that'll close out any servers that you are signed into. It does not shut down the server. It's signing you out. Likewise, if you want to connect with the server, you can click on the plugin icon, and it brings up the same window that you saw before. You can also bring up the window by clicking the drop down by the connect button and click Database Engine, and it's the same window as before. Let's go over creating a new file to work from. So as you're working in your server, you'll probably want to create a new file, write queries, take notes, save it, and work on it later. So to create something like a new document, go up to New Query, Click on it. And here's our new document. I'm going to go ahead and do File, Save As. Move this over here for just a moment. I'm going to save it on my computer. Or on my desktop, rather. Okay. And to show you what this icon looks like, I'm going to minimize Management Studio and bring over the file I just saved. So the icon looks like a piece of paper with a little cylinder or database symbol in front of it. You can save these files anywhere in any folder or subfolder. So unlike if you're working with, maybe HTML, CSS, whether when for example, you might have to save files in a certain location, but not for Management Studio. You can save these files anywhere. And as you can see, when I clicked on my database name in New Query, the database dropdown defaulted to the database I was selected in. If I had other databases created, I can click between those. The top few are defaults that came in with SQL Server. You see my rows are numbered. So if you don't have this and you would like to have your notes more organized, you can get these numbers by going up to Tools, go to Options, and then go down to Text Editor, Transact SQL, and then General. And this is where you'll find the line numbers and word wrap if you are interested. So just to show you, I'll uncheck it for now, hit OK. You can see the numbers are gone. So I'll go back to Tools, Options, Text Editor, Transact SQL, General. Check that line numbers again, and I have it back. You'll notice that there is a yellow bar on the far left side, and you'll see there is a asterisk or star by the name of my file. So that's telling me that I have not saved this file yet. So if I do Control S, now it's saved, the star is gone, and it's green. Now if I make edits to this file, you'll see any rows that I changed will turn yellow. Again, Control S to save, now they're green. It's a nice way to make sure you're keeping your work saved and keeping track of what was changed. So again, you can close out your file, pretend this is the end of the day, disconnect from your SQL Server, you can close out Management Studio, and then tomorrow morning, if you want to hop right back in, when you open it up, it'll already have the sign-in window on, open. The server name will be defaulted to the last server that you signed into. Hit connect. And now for fun, I'm going to keep my selection on my server name and not click on my database name. And I'm going to open up my file. So it came up on my other window, so let me go over here. Click on my test file. There we go. So because I had selected the server name when I opened up the file, the database that Management Studio thinks I want to work in, well, it defaulted to master. But if I want to make sure I'm querying off of the right database, all I do is select my test database name, and now I'm working in that database.